You are supposed to marry A, B, C because that will uplift the family from poverty.
Irrespective of the person's interest.
Love is not an issue. The man cannot marry.
Everybody's settled but them.
Because he needed to uplift all his siblings.
He was doing all sort of odd jobs, including trafficking drugs and using the drugs himself. And now he went mad and on the streets. Meanwhile, they did not know that this was what he was doing to take care of them. So this is the story of a lot of people, especially in the West.
The practice of sacrificial lamb. Are you the sacrificial lamb in your home?
I hope I'm not. If I am, I'm definitely that lamb that will be running away. Another very intriguing cultural practice that I feel like is done by a lot of African cultures, including mine, is this whole idea of sacrificial lamb. Like basically in a family, one person is sacrificed for the apparently the greater good of the rest.
And we came up with this word, culture of sacrificial lamb, because we don't know what to call this practice.
Exactly, but I think it is well put.
You see it across Africa.
Could you please elaborate on this sacrificial lamb?
We may not, have been affected by it, but we see the practices.
Yes.
So the idea is where in a family, there is that particular person in the family that is looking, their future looks promising. Or maybe they just happen to have better plans. For their lives, right?
And putting the work.
And putting in work and just, winning.
Absolutely.
And the whole family members, including the parents, now turn their eyes on that one person. So if it's a man or woman, in most cases, they are expected that, okay, you are not supposed to get married until all your siblings are well balanced in life. Well, you are supposed to marry A, B, C because that will uplift the family from poverty.
Irrespective of the person's interest.
Love is not an issue.
Wow.
So that person who is going through that phase of, I'm doing this for my family. I am not, or maybe you are a man, you get married and your whole family members, or a woman, your whole family members move into your home because they need to go to school, they have to be fed. True. Especially like, in cultures where you have the first daughter. When she gets married and all her siblings must, move. So her husband need to send the other siblings to school. Wow. Because, we have called that the sacrificial lamb. Yeah. Or the man cannot marry. He's like in his 40s. He's somewhere in the West, really struggling.
Working so hard and only sending money
back to the family.
Take care of everybody but himself.
Everybody is comfortable but himself. In fact, if you see him where he's located, you wouldn't believe the amount of money he's sending back home. Sure. So, and those people will say, oh, their brother is there. Yes. Is in the West, is in, China, is here, is in Asia.
And there's that expectation that he needs to take care of them. They need to live better. Yes. They need to be enjoying life while he's there, sacrificing for them.
Yes, they are all in school. The parents are living large. Their family homes are, just on one person's shoulder. So that is the practice that we call the practice of sacrificial lamb.
It seems this thing used to be the case for most first children, right?
Yes, but, it used to be the case.
Is this still the case?
Well, things are changing. It used to be that most first children
naturally have to shoulder those responsibilities.
Yes, they have a lot of... I even came across a man the other day crying out on social media, saying he's tired of being the first son. Can someone take this mantle from him? Wow. Like, he wants to be taken care of. He wants to be fed. He wants... he was crying out. Yes. And for a man to get to that point, you think it's a joke? It's not a
It's
joke.
not. Because that's a lot of responsibility that
Yes.
that would cause him to crack that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of them, I think when I was studying in the UK,
Yeah.
like I have met men. No, I didn't have any close interaction with them, but you can study them from far.
Yes.
And because they are Africans, they stand out.
Yes.
They live a miserable life in the West.
Yet they're taking care of everybody in their extent, their family back home.
Including cousins.
Cousins,
just
relatives.
Because he is abroad.
Yes, and apparently he's the only one who's probably seen maybe things are good for him, so he's supposed to now be responsible for everybody.
He is responsible for everybody. If anybody is sick, he will. And if you listen to stories of women who are given to all this women trafficking or
Yes,
things
yes.
like that, as horrible as
Yes.
that is, some of them are doing that. They engage in that adventure
Yes.
just because they are the sacrificial
Sacrificial
lamb,
lamb.
and everything they earn through that torture
Is
is
sent
sent back home.
Take care of their siblings, the brothers, the mother, the parents.
And they derive
Cousins.
joy and fulfillment from. And we have met a man
Yes.
who grew all his hair, gray hair, and he couldn't marry because he needed to uplift all his siblings before he will. Even his youngest brothers
Was married.
Yes, and at any point the sacrificial lamb stops giving. He has become useless. Or she has become.
Or they have apparently been, the person has been charmed, or all sort of stories are peddled.
Stories will come out. So the thing is that if you look at it the way that we see it is, nothing is ever enough. Once you start sacrificing, you have to do it till you give up.
Even to some extent, sometimes some of these sacrificial lamb, not only are they supposed to take care of their siblings, they take care of them till they marry, and their siblings' children start depending on the same person
Absolutely.
again. And those sacrificial lamb, probably they get late in marriage.
Yes.
They don't have anything to themselves.
Yes.
By the time they finish and get back home, then they realize that everybody's settled but them.
And another problem they face is marital problems because all their siblings are interested in their marriage, interested in the type of woman they marry. So,
or the type of husband they marry.
So everybody is working against that marriage in a way, but they think they are supporting the marriage, but they are really working against the marriage.
Absolutely,
so
I agree.
Most times the marriage breaks down.
It's so unfortunate that this is something that is highly practiced in our cultures.
Yes,
and across a lot of African continents, we constantly sacrifice certain siblings.
One person.
And this is the reason why you see sometimes some families, we give birth to many, and then look out for who is doing good.
Yes.
Then you take care of everybody.
You take care of everybody.
So basically, some of the siblings become parents from a very early age.
Yes,
even without having children of their own.
They do. As nice as that seemed, the thing is, what we are trying to point out is that the burden on the lamb is sometimes heavier than they can carry. And because of pride.
Yes.
Pride.
And
some
ignorance.
Some of them never cry out. And
the only time they do is when they are gone.
Yeah. And it comes to a point where they have to even choose the siblings over their own children, over their own wives, And it's a shame when we don't know the definition of family.
Absolutely.
And you begin to wonder, and you've seen a lot of women who, even behind their husbands, in places where these practices are prevailing, the women try to build mansions for their family members, their brothers behind their husbands. And when the man gets to know, it brings a friction, introduces
or he
friction.
begins also do stuff on his own. And you see that the marriage begins to, severe.
It's because of the burden on the woman. What is expected of her, because maybe she's a sacrificial lamb, and because her pride and her ignorance is pushing her to yield to that pressure.
I agree.
Same as the men.
That's
running projects behind their wives just because they need to satisfy
the ego and then the expectations in the village, and then
wherever that may be. And and you're wondering, these people that you are taking care of, who will take care of
your responsibility
and your children? You will still have to prepare for that.
The other day I saw on social media a young man, apparently he was sending money, taking care of his siblings, and the parents or the people back home did not even know what he was doing. And he was doing all sort of odd jobs, including trafficking drugs and using the drugs himself. And now he went mental. He was mad and on the streets. Now, the parents, when they called them, they was the guy started doing drugs. Meanwhile, they did not know that this was what he was doing, take care of them. Now nobody can. Now he can't go home because he's mental. He's here roaming around. However, the parents or the brothers and sisters are enjoying the world back home.
Wow.
He's been sacrificed. So this is the story of a lot of people, especially in the West.
Yes, a lot of
or in bigger cities. Yes.
Or in bigger cities in our country.
Exactly.
Like even in where I come from, so if you are located in Lagos or Abuja or bigger cities,
or like Accra,
yes,
or Kumasi,
bigger cities,
send money back to the village to take care of everybody.
In the rural areas are expecting you to be taking care of them, or expecting you to sacrifice everything, and it is good to help. Right? But what we are saying is that the pressure and the expectation becomes so much that it is taking lives.
Yes.
It is taking lives.
But I do think personally that in as much as you want to help, you have to take care of yourself and your health first before you can be charitable towards anybody.
I think that the pride and the ignorance make people in these situations not to look to their health or themselves. Like you see in the West, like we have seasons that are we are not used to. But you see our African men in winter
shoveling snow,
like
just to make money. And when he finally makes that money, the first person who will call or he will send through Western Union, whatever means, to Africa is to the siblings.
And sometimes they tell you it's not enough.
It's not enough.
They tell you it's not enough. The
next day, it's something they're calling for something else, another money again.
So that culture is something we cringe.
We cringe. If you have found yourself in such a situation where you are the sacrificial lamb of your family, you think you are the sacrificial. What are the things that your families are, or your siblings, cousins, people or parents are expecting from you? And why do you think that is the case? Or if you are the type who is expecting the sacrificial lamb to send such things to you, please leave a comment below and let's say why you think that is the person's responsibility.
And as a sacrificial lamb, is that feeding your ego?
Yeah.
Like, are you satisfied by the pride and the ignorance?
And basically, what I see is that a lot of the time these sacrificial now end up becoming very late in life in doing a lot of things. Because they satisfy and provide for everybody, but they don't take care of their own needs, their own plans, what they have for like their own. They don't start their own families.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, when they return and they are old and weak, those other people they were helping are now well settled. They don't really take care of them,
of course,
or take care of their responsibility.
No,
you end up seeing somebody who is in the West has been taking care of his siblings and cousins and sisters and brothers and for the last 20 years until he's about 50 or 40s. And he now starts marrying.
Yes.
And when he marries, he's so weak and old that he can't do a lot of hard work to take care of his family. And at that point, he's hoping that somebody can help him. But the cousins or those people he took care of are in Africa, enjoying the wealth.
They'll remind you, sacrificial lamb, how you you wasted your years.
Absolutely.
Like, what were you doing?
Absolutely.
Others were doing this and that and that, and you are counting how you helped, how you broke your back. It's not relevant at that moment. It's not.
Yeah.
And you know, the reason why we are really bringing up this, we cringe over this culture, is because it's not helping our society.
Yes.
It's not helping our community.
It's causing a lot of damage and havoc.
Yes, it making, you know, over reliance on, you know, things we don't work for.
Yes.
And making us not have value.
At the end of the day, spend it anyhow and feel like the next day they'll get it from him.
I come across videos where people are lamenting about, you know, how they are treated back home, and a woman was really crying out and saying that back in her country she's seen as a money tree.
Wow.
Like, she's literally, they don't see her as a human, they see her as a walking money tree.
And this is the story for a lot of Africans.
And I was just thinking, she's the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
They don't care whether you've eaten, whether you're craving any, you know, food or anything. No, it's
about one way
street.
Sent to us. They don't send anything to you. So this is the kind of the story for a lot of diasporans Africans, and it's a culture, particularly from the African continent, expected of so many people.
Yes, and you know, helping is not discouraged at all. But I mean, if you really understand what we are talking about, please leave a comment below.
Yes.
So we're not saying it's not good to help people, help family members. We have people that we
help.
Yes, but it's not to our detriment.
Yes.
You know, it's not to the point where you are not supposed to marry because you have to finish, you know, make
taking care of everyone.
Or I'm supposed to marry a certain type of man to
in order to support some people.
Like poverty alleviation
scheme.
They set you up as a woman.
Yes.
Sometimes a woman is encouraged to marry a very older man because he's wealthy and that will lift up the family and, you know, satisfy the greed of everyone. Or maybe she's expected to marry a guy who just, you know, wrote to them and he's somewhere around the world. And you just enter into marriage with someone you don't know because he's abroad.
Because they are hoping that one of their daughters will be married to somebody who is abroad and will travel there and take them out of poverty.
Yeah, poverty alleviation scheme. You know, as funny and as strange as this practices sound, is happening.
It is.
And when you marry, not for love, but because you are the sacrifice, how happy are you?
Exactly.
And when you are forcing your child to marry, not because of love, but because of sacrifice. How fulfilling is that for you as a parent? So please leave a comment below if you really understand what we are talking about. If you have seen a sacrificial lamb and
you think this practice should be stopped or encouraged, let us know your view on this.
You know, and how do we even go about you know, stopping this practice, but rather encouraging individual worth, where people are contented with what they have, not looking to another person in the family like, I want everything you have because you seem to be having more, you know.
And this sacrificial lamb even goes even beyond sometimes just the whole idea of expectations, take care of me, because some siblings or some relatives, when they are not getting enough and there is some little property in their possession, they take hold of it, seize it, and are ready to kill or fight the person to keep it.
And sometimes we question why our politicians politicians in Africa are enriching their family members. It is the same sacrificial lamb practice. They are expected, now that you are the governor,
your siblings are all supposed to be settled.
Yes.
So your wife's relatives all must be settled.
Yes. So by the time 4 years expires, 8 years expires, he has done nothing for the country, for the state,
other than appointing family members to positions
or just enriching family members.
Yes.
Like, we need to start changing the narrative, because
Absolutely.
as you're pointing finger at the politician, maybe you are doing a similar thing.
Yeah.
You are doing in your own way.
Even your family.
Yes. And a lot of, these people, like, you work so hard in a country that blessed you so much, and you don't want to contribute anything to that country.
Not at all.
You are not even wanting to pay tax to that country.
Yes.
But you are sending everything you have been blessed with
from that country
to another place.
Yep.
It's the same as what the politicians are doing.
Yes.
So when we begin to heal from a place of understanding and awakening, maybe that would change our focus as a continent, as a nation, to begin to really, if you get into an office, you face what is really before you. If you get into a country, you face what's before you, and be a blessing to the land that have blessed you so tremendously well.
Only blessing the immediate people in your family and around you.
Yes. And to think that you are a sacrificial lamb in the West, for example, you have that colleague who is from another race, who's just thinking about his wife, his children, his parents, his immediate community, and how he can advance humanity.
Yes.
But you sitting in that office, you are not only thinking about that, you're thinking about a name and a title in the community. You're thinking about siblings. You're thinking about their children. You're thinking about their relatives.
Parents.
Like, how can you be on the same...
And yet you are carrying you are paid a paycheck, the same paycheck like your colleague who is not thinking of the same thing.
And how can your mindset even be the same with that person?
Nah, it's going to be hard. It's never going to be the same. And it's something we need to really work on.
Like, think about it and maybe change.
Change.